Do you know anything about the viewership on the Star Wars things they have on Disney Plus?
Yeah, we've covered that. Pro and I have covered the very declining
Hey, Valiant,
returns on Nielsen
the,
Pro.
the
Yeah, I was
way
gonna
the
say
way
that.
to demonstrate that, if you'll pull up on Nielsen right now, just go to Nielsen and share that screen, and let's look at the top 10 in every category for the most recent week they have.
Absolutely.
I think it's stunning.
Yep.
But you're going to find that Disney essentially has one hit right now out of all of the shows that are going to be available on
And it's
Nielsen.
not even a Disney show.
Right. It's an acquired show that they,
Pro,
they
I'm
don't
going to
have
let
the
you.
rights to be on just streaming.
I'm going to let you talk about this because Undoomed. That's an absolutely excellent question, Undoomed, and I'm glad you brought that up. So glad because I would have missed it. But yeah, Pro and I have been covering this, and here we are. Here we go. Overall, this is the week of January 16th through 22nd. Now, for those of you watching that may not yet be familiar, the Nielsen streaming ratings, their public documentation on the website, okay? Their publication is always about a month behind of reality, obviously. We're talking about January 16th through 22nd. It's a month ago.
Right.
That's just how they operate. Now, they have the numbers earlier than that. This is just when they publish them. So this is the most recent set of data that Nielsen has.
They're by far the most accurate that we can tell when we line up what they say along with when we get actual public releases with specificity out of the streaming companies, usually out of Netflix. The Nielsen stuff lines up. The other stuff, I mean, we don't want to malign these other companies, but the other companies tend to not have the best statistics or rubrics that help us understand which shows are doing well. So if we look at this top overall, this top 10, you can see that the only thing from Disney Plus is Bluey, which is a cartoon show about a family of dogs, anthropomorphic dogs. Very cute show, but it's made in Australia. It's acquired by Disney. There is nothing originating out of Disney Studios or any of their subsidiaries in that top 10. And this tends to be the pattern that we see. If we look, it's dominated by Netflix. And of course, we've got HBO Max on there. But Netflix is just destroying them. This wasn't the case a year ago. Disney Plus would be found in this list. And something has happened in the last 12 months where Netflix has taken over that dominance. If we check on original, go ahead and click on original VR.
Yep.
We'll see that Disney Plus at the bottom, they make the 10th spot with National Treasure Edge of History. However, that only has 294 million minutes that have been streamed. That is really bad, and it would not make it onto this list on a normal week. No. This is mid-January, and for whatever reason, the numbers are pretty low on this.
There's nothing coming out. There's no big competition right now from the heavy hitters at Netflix with anything. So I mean,
what about the older shows like Andor and stuff like that? What did that actually got?
And Andor's ratings for Disney Plus were atrocious, even to the point where the showrunner Tony Gilroy came out and did an interview with one of the major Hollywood trades. I can't remember. It was either Variety or Deadline or THR. Basically lamenting the fact that, and I'm paraphrasing, but not by much, that, well, we thought people would just show up to watch this because it was Star Wars, but they didn't.
Yeah. Hey, the worst, though, has been She-Hulk, because with She-Hulk, you had the writers and the directors coming out and proclaiming to the media that they were the number one show that week, that they had that, and they were telling off the fans who hated it, saying, well, we're the number one show, so what are you going to say about it? And then the ratings came out on Nielsen, and it was quite the opposite. It was barely registering on anything. Click on over to Acquired. You'll see the same thing. We've got one Disney Plus property that is still Bluey. There is nothing on there on Acquired.
Yep.
And then if we click on movies, here's the most concerning thing for Disney. This is really concerning.
Yeah.
If you click over to movies, you'll see that Disney does register, but this is deeply problematic for them. Here's why. If you look, you'll see they've got Doggone, Glass Onion, Hatching Wielding Hitchhiker, The Menu. All of those shows that are non-Disney at the top tend to be shows that are at least watchable for adults. Now, the key thing to know about that, all 4 of the Disney Plus shows that made it onto the list Those are all children's movies. What do we know about the watching habits, the watching patterns of children versus any other demographic? Children rewatch movies over and over and over. They do so for the psychological reason that when they watch a movie, we're used to the way movies work, and we're used to the way that the world works. Children are not. And so children are fascinated by all sorts of things. They can rewatch movie 10 times and still see new things because their little brains are still learning all kinds of patterns. So they watch this stuff over and over and over. They go to bed every night watching this stuff if mommy and daddies will let them. Yet, despite that watching pattern of repeat viewership, Disney's in the bottom 4 of this. Even worse, Encanto, 210 million minutes, very low for Disney Plus in terms of top movie. But then Moana, okay? Moana came out in 2016. Moana is beating Strange World already. Strange World, this should be the 4th week that Nielsen has Strange World. So in 4 weeks, Strange World is underperforming a movie that came out in 2016.
That's crazy.
I thought Disney had the bottom 4. Disney has 3.
Encanto has been on Disney Plus by the time of this measurement for over a year.
Okay, now here's the other thing, VR. Here's the other thing people can find out about this. Look at this. If you want to, and this is why I think they're holding the announcement about Moana 2 until D23. I really believe that. Iger didn't want to announce this one. This has been in development. Moana 2 is on the way. This is how popular Moana is. Moana is about to beat Encanto again. Encanto has had its time, and now this 2016 film is about to apex Encanto again, and Encanto will sink below it.
Yeah, Moana came out of nowhere on this.
Right. So when you say, well, Pro, you're really up on Moana. It's not that I am a huge fan of this, little girl's movie, but I'm looking at this and I'm saying, my God, the thing's been out there since 2016. It's eating Tangled alive. It's eating Frozen alive. Yeah. Zootopia is nowhere to be found. That is the killer app that Disney has, is Moana. They ought to be going all in on that and doing everything they can to make it not be divisive. And Strange World is a pile of junk.
The issue for me is looking at this chart, Undoomed, and this is the crux of it, is that when you see that Disney's, if it's Bluey, which Disney doesn't even own, they're licensing on to Disney Plus, or if it's their classic catalog titles, they're kicking the pants off of their new stuff. And this is what brings everything we've talked about home tonight. Ant-Man Quantumania, Thor Love and Thunder, the Marvels, or whatever crap they're pumping out later this year for the MCU. These titles, this is what they're spending more money on now to make than anything on this Nielsen chart that came out years ago, and it's doing better. The old stuff is doing better. This is a failure of CapEx, of capital expenditures for the Walt Disney Company. When their catalog library titles are kicking the crap out of their new stuff. And I just, real quickly, because people ask me this all the time, let's look at the acquired thing. You see here, The Last of Us on HBO Max. Just to explain briefly why that's under acquired instead of original. Because The Last of Us is an acquired property for HBO Max. Because The Last of Us is property of HBO, which is a separate entity from the streaming service. So when you see the numbers here, 2 episodes of The Last of Us, 837 million minutes viewed, if you actually plugged in, if we had a measurement of it, of the millions of minutes viewed on linear delivery HBO, you watched it on your cable provider, you watched it on your satellite TV provider like Dish Network or DirecTV, that 837 is probably closer to 1.5 billion. So that's just the streaming service. So just to give you an idea, it's split. But Undoomed, your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that the old stuff is kicking the ass of the new stuff, which should make them ask themselves, like, why is that? What are we doing wrong? Like, it's one thing to say that they're spending too much money, which they are, but they're also not engaging the viewers. That's a separate issue. And what is it that is different between the old and the new? And of course, the go-to obvious answer is get woke, go broke.